Welcome, Drink with James, episode 178. We're doing another concept episode here, another single topic, no questions. I'm going to burn through a bunch of shit on one thing episode. Also means I'm going to truncate the intro a little bit. Just a couple things to mention. One, today we're releasing year in review. Our team's been working on this for a long time. We don't make any money on it, so we're just passionate about it and we like doing it. Check your email. Your year in review should be in there. Not only the stories, but a link to the actual page. You can see what your most engaged photos are, your best sponsored posts that you did, how much you grew, what the best time of day for you to post, what your color palette was, how many countries you went to. Bunch of great information in there, really cool. All of them have corresponding, beautifully designed custom Insta stories just for you. So if you have not seen that yet, definitely get it, post it. It's the most wonderful time of the year to be talking about yourself. And do not miss this opportunity to, pontificate on what a great year you've had and how much you've grown, all of the challenges overcome, the personal growth that you experienced. It's a time of reflection, a self-serving reflection, and we wanted to give you guys some way to be able to do that really easily. So check your email. Let's jump into it. So we did it for you a few weeks ago about shifting your mindset about money. Basically, how do we make it so that you feel like money is a renewable resource, something that you can always go out and get if you want it? How do you build your brand relationships and make sure they keep coming back to you? How do you better negotiate? How do you continue to be able to raise your rates? All these things. All of them kind of stem from a few core principles that we went through and that I'm going to take you through really quickly right now. First, let's talk about that sales process. We talked about this many videos again, but I'm going to talk about it again here. To sell someone something, there's a few steps to that process, and Brian's going to throw up really cool little things in front of me right here. It's going to say, 1, relationship, validation, opportunity, execution. You need to know the person. You need to be validated in some way so that they feel comfortable working with you. There needs to be an opportunity to work together, and then you need to execute on that opportunity really effectively. That is the kind of core blueprint for any sale that there is. What we focused on in the presentation, what I'm focusing on today, is really the first two parts. Relationship validation. How do you build a relationship with someone, and how do you make sure you're validated and essentially ready for that brand to work with you when there is an opportunity? So let's first talk about a little bit how our brains work. You can only keep so many pieces of information in your head. You can only remember so many people. I'm sure you guys have had this experience where you met with a brand a few months ago, meeting went really well, you haven't talked to them in a couple months, and then they do an influencer campaign and they never reached out to you. And you ask yourself, what just happened? We just met with them. They said we wanted to work together. I sent them a really nice follow-up. Why didn't they think of me? The problem is that you have allowed yourself to fall out of their mind share enough that it literally becomes impossible for them to think of you in that moment. So when the opportunity, if you think about relationship, validation, opportunity, execution, we've gotten to the opportunity part of the cycle, but you're totally forgotten. They have totally forgotten you. This is a solvable problem, and the way to solve it is that you have to stay top of mind somehow. You have to come up with a system to make sure that you're continuing to inject yourself into that client's life in a way that is meaningful and authentic and doesn't feel forced. A big part of that is that you have to provide value at all those opportunities and touch points, right? You can't just keep reaching out and saying, hi, just wondering if you have any opportunities, right? That is not an email I want to get. Nobody wants to get that email. So you have to come up with ways to get back in front of those people without just asking them if they have any opportunities. There's a few kind of easy things you can do. 1, it's key to nail the follow-up after the meeting. You need to, when you walk out of that meeting, Take out your notes, write a voice note, whatever you need to do to remember what happened in that meeting. If you have 3 or 4 meetings throughout the day, you're gonna get to the end of the day, you're gonna be exhausted, you're gonna grab a glass of wine, maybe a Negroni, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna go to write those follow-up emails and you're gonna say, what the fuck did we talk about in that meeting? I have no idea. It is really important. I personally do it on voice notes. I kind of dictate an email and I talk about all the stuff that we talked about. What is the follow-ups? What were my action items? What little things did you mention? Is there an article I want to send you? Did I talk about a specific sponsored post I did that I want to send? You need to get all that down in the first 10 minutes after leading the meeting, or it's going to disappear from your brain and you're going to write a shitty follow-up that's just like, it was so good to meet today. Let me know if you have any opportunities or if you need anything from me. Let's be in touch. Get that drink soon. That's a bad follow-up. A good follow-up was, so great to talk today. As mentioned, I just wanted to pass along the recent collaboration I did, blah, 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 blah. Also, I know that you said you're going to Italy. I want to send the blog post along to my favorite restaurants in Italy, as I discussed. Have such a great time. Let's get drinks when you get back. Okay, that's a good follow-up. Now, what ends up happening usually in your life, right? You get busy, la-da-da, la-da-ba. You don't get that drink with that person. You forget about them. Relationship goes to shit. You don't get any deals from them. What you need to do is when you're dictating after the meeting, you have to say, just a reminder that she is going to Italy on the 14th of September and coming back on the 20th. Let's make a note to, on the 21st, send an email asking how the trip went and following up for that drink. Now the 21st of September comes, you get to email, you go to their Instagram, grab a couple posts that look amazing, put them in the email, say, oh my God, your trip looked amazing. I'm so jealous, incredible. Let's get that drink now that you're back. Negroni's on me. Negroni's is the whole theme here, people. Now that's 2 great emails you've just written, right? And you've established, you haven't asked me for anything as the brand person. You're just invested in my life. You listened in the meeting, you sent a really professional follow-up, and then you followed up with something about me. That's great. Okay, now let's say you're not in the same city. You can't get that drink. Well, how do you follow up again in 2 weeks? You need to set a reminder to find something of value. Hey, I read this article on Glossy recently. I thought you would find it interesting because it was relevant to what we talked about in our meeting. Hope you're well. Again, you've just continued to do things for me. And the key is, again, provide value at every interaction. Just like we say, whenever you hit publish, those posts have to give your audience value for them to be worth posting. Before you hit send on an email, make sure that email provides value to the person receiving it, not just asking them for something. Because if they can't give that thing to you, the only way for them to respond is to disappoint you, which is a shitty feeling. And so you end up not responding, right? You end up ignoring it. And then you follow up again about something else. Now you feel bad because shit, I ignored the last email, right? You get into this trap. You're not creating a relationship with the person. You're just asking them for shit. And they're either giving it to you or not. So provide value at every interaction. We'll throw up a few graphs here. One showing that curve that generally happens from an interaction till when you fall out of mind share, and the more wavy graph that can show you how you stay top of mind to make sure that when an opportunity comes, you are in the person's mind and they're thinking about you. They haven't already forgotten about you. If you're a visual person, hopefully that will help you reference it. Continuing to talk about email, because I think that getting good at email is the single best thing that you can do for your career. In general, if you can commit to responding to your emails in 24 hours from brands, you're ahead of 95% of the influencer community. Just make the commitment, say, I'm going to get this done. If you can't get it done, you have to find people to help you, find assistance, whatever it might be. I don't think outsourcing that to an agent is a necessarily good idea. I think that if you have enough business to have an agent, I'd consider hiring someone part-time. It's a lot cheaper than giving 20% of your earnings away for someone to answer your email. That is a whole different episode. And don't write me and say, oh, my agent does a lot more than answer emails. I know, I'm not disparaging agents. I'm just saying if your biggest problem is you can't get through your email, I don't think an agent or manager is the right solution for that. You come up with systems and processes. 24 hours. Unless you are in a collaboration, unless you're contracted and working with a brand, you have to respond by end of day. You have to. You have to respond by same business day. When you're starting out on that collaboration, right? When you're getting the contracting going, there's two things influencers don't do enough of, but they should. One is called back briefing. Okay, back briefing is where I take everything that you've said to me and I say it back to you and get you to confirm that's correct. This gets everyone aligned that we know what's happening. Hey, thank you so much for this opportunity. So excited. Just so I understand correctly, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. These are the goals. This is, everything that's going to be happening, and get them to say yes. Okay, that level sets that everyone understands what's happening. Client feels really taken care of. You totally know what's happening. And if there's something wrong in your back brief, they will fix it, and you save yourself a lot of headaches with reshoots and angry clients and things like that. The other is, if they have not given you a timeline of when stuff is due for, when they're going to send you product, when you're going to shoot, when you're going to get that to review, when you're posting. If they haven't given you that timeline, you need to communicate it. Come up with that timeline. Make sure that it's aligned with them, okay? If they have a timeline and there are things that you can't execute on, if you have a vacation or something, communicate those immediately. That brings me to a bigger point, which is that bad news has to travel faster than good news, right? Everyone is always really excited to tell someone a piece of good news, right? Nobody's excited to tell people bad news. We've already talked about how important it is to deliver bad news quickly. That was a few episodes ago. If you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. But back brief your client and also try and consolidate your questions into a single email. Don't send 3 or 4 emails. Really sit down with the brief. If you have any questions while you're building that back brief, put them in that same email. You got to understand that if you're in a campaign with 30 people, you're one of 30 email chains that they're dealing with. So if it takes you 3 or 4 emails to ask all your questions, it's just a big time suck for the person on the client side and a big frustration, and make you less likely to work with them in the future. Now, you've done your post, you've stayed on top of things, you've communicated effectively, you back briefed, you got your stuff reviewed and approved, you posted it, people loved it. Collaboration's over, okay? You submitted your invoice, you're waiting to get paid. You have to send that reporting email, okay? Send the email, links to the content, high-res versions of the content, your business stats, impressions, views, saves, DMs, all that. Any data that you can pull out, do that. Do a summary for each post, do a total across all the posts. And then there's this term that we kick around constantly in the office. The specific is universal. And we've talked about it before on Drink with James, but if you're new, I'll explain it again. It basically says that in a lot of people's minds, if you can pull up a specific example of something, then our brain tends to expand that to make it a universal truth, right? You have a bad experience at one McDonald's, McDonald's sucks, right? Think about it that way. We just do this as humans, but you can use it to your advantage as well, right? You have one great comment, one DM of someone saying, oh my God, I love that so much, I just ordered it, and then sending you a picture a couple days later of them wearing the thing that you told them to buy. Send that to the client, because while it's only one specific example, and it certainly does not indicate success of the whole campaign, our brains just want that to be universal. It's an example that we look at as an indicator of what happened, but that we didn't see as much of. So in that reporting email, this is your chance to pitch yourself for the next deal. This is your chance to set yourself up to get more work in the future. If it was a gifting campaign and it's unpaid, this is the chance to get paid, right? This is where you say, I'd love to move into a paid relationship, and you've just shown the brand how effective you are, how good you are at this job, and that you would be a valued partner, and that they should be paying you. And if they paid you, it's the chance to get more money. What are you working on? I have got more ideas. I want to pitch you. I want to keep talking about this. My audience loves it. It was such a successful collaboration. The reporting email, and if you can get on a call, feel free to do that. That is your chance to sell. That's your chance to get them to come back. And repeating the cycle is hugely important. We've already talked about retention before, but you should be making at least 50% of the money you make this year. Those 50% of that money should come back next year from the same clients. At least, minimum. If you're less than that, you're not doing a very good job. You need to do a better job retaining your clients. So if you made $100,000 this year, in your mind, you've already made 50 grand next year. So if you make 100,000 of new money next year, you're at 150. The following year, 75K coming back. Make 100 grand again, you're at 175. This is how we grow. You retain clients. And the way you do that is you have to continue to have relationships. You have to invest in these relationships. You have to come up with ways to stay top of mind and to provide value and to scale yourself. You are your business, and you need to figure out a way where when you interact with a single brand or client, they feel like you're the only person in the room. The best PR people, the best salespeople I've ever met in my life do that. When they're sitting with you, they make you feel like you're the only person in the world that matters. And it's impossible to resist giving them what they want, because they're giving you what you want, which is attention. And they're listening, and they care, and they seem to think you're really interesting. And then it's shooting fish in a barrel. All right? We are going to include the deck that I presented, as well as some email tips from our VP of Strategy, Grace Murray. You can download both of those in some link that Brian is putting somewhere, and I think it'll also be in the show notes or something. If you're listening on a podcast, and you didn't see the graphs, you can download all that stuff. Drop me an email if you have any questions or want any further explanation. And our concept show number 3 is in the books. Wait, I need a better throw than that. Concept show number 3, done.